Summary of grammatical and vocabulary errors. When with his daughter and with daughter friends, and they were swimming afar of the beach. Start to swim with us around them. There are two dolphins that push Rob. I understand. Bold text can definitely blend in on some mobile screens. To make the errors stand out more clearly, I have used capitalized brackets to highlight exactly where the slips occurred in your recording. Errors in your recording, when with his daughter and with daughter friends, and they was swimming afar of the beach. Start to swim with us around them. Based on your recording, your English is at an intermediate B1 level. You are able to tell a cohesive story with a clear beginning, middle, and end, which is a great sign of fluency. Here is some brief feedback on your performance. Speaking and fluency. Narrative flow. You do a good job of using sequences, like suddenly, to keep the listener engaged in the story. Self-correction. You often repeat words or phrases when you are thinking of the next part of the sentence. While this shows you are monitoring your grammar, it occasionally breaks the rhythm of your speech. Pronunciation, the S sound. You have a tendency to add an E sound before words starting with S, e.g. saying S swim or S story. This is a very common habit for Spanish speakers. Vowel length. Some of your short vowel sounds are stretched out, making them sound like long vowels. This can sometimes change the meaning of a word. Word endings. You sometimes drop the final consonants of words, especially the ed in past tense verbs or the s in plurals, which can make the grammar sound slightly different than intended. Would you like to try recording a shorter summary of the story to see if you can reduce the repetitions? Here is a corrected version of your story. I have smoothed out the grammar and phrasing while keeping your original meaning and structure. Corrected story, The Dolphins and the Shark. Rob was out with his daughter and her friends when they were swimming about 100 meters away from the beach. Suddenly, a group of dolphins started to swim around them. Rob noticed there were two dolphins pushing him, and then he saw another huge fish nearby. He felt nervous, but he decided not to tell the two girls anything. The dolphins then pushed the two girls together and continued to swim around them for 40 minutes. Eventually, everyone reached safety. Rob said that although he has swum with dolphins several times before, he had never seen this kind of behavior. There is an expert who told him that there are other stories where this has happened in other cases. It seems the dolphins have a sense of protection toward humans. Key improvements made. Verb tense. I adjusted the past continuous, were swimming, and past perfect, had never seen, to make the timeline of the story clearer. Prepositions. I changed phrases like afar of to away from to sound more natural. Sentence structure. I removed the repetitions, like around, to make the flow more professional. Would you like me to highlight the most important grammar rules used in this corrected version? To keep the story at your level while making it sound more like a natural conversation you'd have with a friend, I've adjusted the phrasing to be more relaxed. Colloquial version, Rob and the Dolphins. Rob was hanging out with his daughter and her friends when they were swimming about 100 meters off the coast. Out of nowhere, a bunch of dolphins started circling them. Rob saw there were two dolphins pushing him, and then he spotted another huge fish nearby. He got nervous, but he decided not to say anything to the girls. The dolphins pushed the two girls together and kept swimming around them for about 40 minutes. In the end, everyone got back safely. Rob said that even though he swum with dolphins a few times, he had never seen them act like that. An expert actually told him that there are other stories where this has happened before. It's like the dolphins have an instinct to protect people. What makes this more colloquial? Hanging out, a very common way to describe spending time with people. Out of nowhere, a more natural conversational way to say suddenly. A bunch of, instead of a group of. Spotted. A casual way to say you saw something specific. Got. In casual English, we often use got instead of more formal verbs like became or reached. Would you like me to record myself reading this version so you can practice the rhythm and linking of the words? To move up just a half step from B1, we can swap some basic verbs for more precise phrasal verbs and use slightly more descriptive vocabulary without making the sentences too long or complex. Slightly more sophisticated version. Rob was out with his daughter and her friends when they were swimming about 100 meters from the shore. All of a sudden, a pod of dolphins began circling them. Rob noticed there were 2 dolphins nudging him, and then he caught sight of another huge fish nearby. He felt anxious, but he decided not to mention anything to the 2 girls. The dolphins then herded the girls together and continued to swim around them for 40 minutes. Eventually, the group made it back safely. Rob remarked that while he has swum with dolphins on several occasions, he had never witnessed this type of behavior. An expert later informed him that there are similar stories where this has occurred in other instances. It appears that dolphins possess an instinct to protect humans. What changed to make it more sophisticated? From the shore, a slightly more descriptive alternative to from the beach. A pod of dolphins, using the specific collective noun for dolphins, pod, instead of group or bunch. Nudging and herded, these are more precise verbs than pushing to describe how animals move. Caught sight of, a more advanced way to say saw or spotted. On several occasions, a slightly more formal way to say a few times. Witnessed and occurred. These are slightly higher level synonyms for seen and happened. Would you like to try reading this version aloud to see if you can incorporate the S sound corrections we discussed earlier?